kindergarten readiness is so difficult to define. So much of it is subjective, and you know your child best, obviously, but it depends on age, attitude towards school, maturity level, all of those things, experience. But there are, of course, things that we assess for in pre-K. So I was going to touch on those briefly, but what I mostly want to talk about is the second thing that Glenn mentioned, is how you can help prepare your child for school, because there are so many things that we as parents can do to help them be ready. So as a preschool teacher, and I'll be interested to hear what Mrs. Vernick has to say, but to me, the social emotional pieces are much more important for your child to be ready for kindergarten than the cognitive. It is important, and of course we teach those things and we assess for those things, but the social emotional pieces, can they share and play cooperatively? Can they be a part of a group and listen to instructions? Can they sit for circle time? Can they have a short but focused attention span? Can they demonstrate independence and self-care and in personal responsibility, putting their lunchbox away, being responsible for their own folder? Those kinds of things are probably, in my opinion, what prepare you most for big school, as we call it in my family. Cognitively, we expect, if your child cannot do all of these things, it does not mean they're not ready for kindergarten, but we strive to have our children who graduate match sets to a number, write 1 through 10, write their name, understand the left to right swing and using books appropriately, use the correct grip on a pencil, trace and draw simple pictures, all of those things, understand, have a phonemic and phonological awareness. It's not an exhaustive list, but kind of gives you an idea of some of the things we are looking for in pre-K. How can you get your child ready? The social emotional pieces, to me, obviously preschool, that's where my heart lies, and I think that's where your child will gain so much of that. If preschool is not what is right for your family, if you don't send your child to pre-K, try to get them involved in a sports team, go to Sunday school, go to the little gym, anywhere where they are in a group realizing the world does not revolve around them and there is one authority figure that they are required to listen to follow directions from. I think that will help your child's kindergarten teacher so much if they just have that exposure. As far as like literacy and math readiness goes, the fact that you are all here today probably tells me you're already doing these things, but read aloud to your child every day. We all understand the importance of this. Emphasize phonemes and phonics in your conversations. So, we have a new dog. Daisy is such a delightful dog, or disappointing, whichever she is. Do you hear those D's? We have so many D's in our family. Play the name game. Do y'all remember that? The Thomas, Bobamas. Anything that you can do to introduce those phonics and phonemes in their life is great. Use alliteration, play rhyming games in the car. The car is a great place to do some of this. We look for environmental print all the time. Speed limit signs, it's a great way to, recognize those higher numbers, street names. If you look at, if you help them to read Walmart and Target and Publix, that gives them some success. Look, you're already a reader. They just recognize it from the big circles, but it gives them some confidence. So, and then math, we play with our food. Like if I have a non-vegetable eater, if he has 10 green beans on his plate, eat 4 and count how many are left. You don't have to eat all of them or even most of them. Eat 3. Play board games and card games. Y'all probably do this at home. There are so many that teach sorting, matching, addition, subtraction. My 5-year-old plays blackjack with my husband, not for money, but she can add up to 21. Play war, all of those fun things. Go fish, and but most importantly, just make them feel successful. If you build confidence in them and give them some successes, they're going to come in ready to take on new challenges. They're not going to shy away from the new concepts. In kindergarten, they're introducing so much more than we do in preschool. We still do a lot of playing. We learn through play, and I know you guys do too. But if they come in, feeling unsuccessful and unconfident, they're not going to gravitate toward those new challenges and love learning like we all want them to. So just give them successes as you introduce new things. And this is one of the main reasons in preschool you'll see so much art and crafts, because we have a longtime pre-K teacher who says art is the one subject where all children can find success. And it gives them something to be proud of. If they're struggling to write their name and all of their friends can, they can show their parents their artwork and look what I painted and be confident in it and be proud of it. So just find what they love and give them some success, and just keep doing what you're doing. The fact that you're here, like I said, tells me that y'all are all great parents and preparing your kids already. But that's it.
Yes to everything she said. I'm going to talk a little bit about kindergarten now and how it's changed. It really has changed so much in the last 25 years, since I was in kindergarten, or you. So the main reason it's changed so much is just because we introduce so much more than we used to. It's full day. A lot of kindergarten programs are not taking time for a nap anymore. There's too many skills we want to introduce them to, and they're sponges. They're ready to learn these things, and they want to learn more. They're so eager to learn. We still have lots of playtime, but as she said, we also learn a lot by playing. The activities are based on what we're learning in class. They're based on reading games, math games, science, social studies, and they just learn from each other as well. So when you are thinking about preparing your child for kindergarten, just realizing that it's going to be faster paced. There's still more time for play, but if they can come in with those successes that she was talking about, where they're comfortable in a school setting, they're able to leave you when they come into the building in the morning, they're able to walk in by themselves. That's a huge step, because they're able to get started right away on the day and focus on what's going to happen that day at school. And they're not worried about where's mom, where's dad. They're able to come in, put their things away, take those responsibilities that we expect. We want them to have those responsibilities at school, putting their own things away, turning in their folder. So you can help with that at home by, when you take them to preschool or an activity that they're going to, they should be carrying their own bag. They're old enough at this point that they can carry their bag, they can go put it where it needs to go. That may seem silly, but for a child to be able to know, oh, I can do that, or it might take them longer to put their own coat on, but they need to be doing those things to get ready for when they come to school. And it just gives them that confidence that they can do it without your help. They're proud of those little moments that they have. So when they're coming to kindergarten, at the beginning of the school year, we really jump right in. We jump right in with letter sounds, math skills, writing their name. If they already have a background on that will just be, they're one step ahead. They're more comfortable with it. They're able to start building those words, start those basic reading skills. A lot of preschool programs now already focus on letter sounds, so they'll already have a really good introduction to that. So we're able to jump into it and say, okay, if you know the letter sounds, now we're going to break it down and talk about the vowels. We're going to talk about the differences and why these are special letters and why we need them in every word. Counting, if they're comfortable counting to 25, 100, whatever it is, then they'll be able to use those skills in the daily activities that we're doing in kindergarten. We also start with a lot of writing activities at the beginning of the year, meaning they'll be learning to sound out a word with the sounds they hear. We're not looking for correct spelling. You should not either. We want them to feel comfortable if they spell apple, A-P-L. That is fabulous. And they should not be told otherwise, because we want them to not be scared and afraid. We want them to do it and not worry about if it's right or wrong. At this point in the year, my students are writing sentences. Some of them are writing stories. It's really amazing what they can do. And I think sometimes as adults, we try and hold them back. We try to do things for them. But like I said, they really should be doing a lot of these things on their own. Another thing, as school's approaching in late July, early August, things you can be doing with your child, talk about school a lot. Drive by the school, say that's going to be your school. Go visit. If you're able to, take your child to visit even now. Let them meet the teacher. Once they know who their teacher will be, let them come meet the teacher. I think a lot of schools do before school starts activities where they can come meet the teacher and see the classroom. If they don't, schedule a time when you can do that, because it's really important. So that on those first few days, they're able to come in, that's my classroom, that's my teacher. And the teacher will get to know your child as well, which is really helpful for them. Let's see. So the social skills and the maturity are also very huge. Like she was saying, yes, that is a big part of school at this age. The academics are there. They will come, though. If they don't know all their letter sounds at the beginning, don't panic, because they will soak that in really quickly and be able to start applying those skills. But if they're not able to sit still for 5 or 10 minutes or work with other children, that's going to hold them back. That's going to, we're going to have to take time to address those issues while they learn how to handle those things. So having your kids in activities or a preschool is really helpful to get them used to working with other kids, waiting their turn. When they come to a big school, there will be between 14 and 20 kids, depending on the school, and probably just one teacher. So helping your child to understand that you need to wait if the teacher's talking to someone else. You can stand there and wait, but not to interrupt. Help them. If you see your child playing a lot or not able to sit still while they're eating, that's something you can really work on. It's helpful to the teachers, but it's also helpful to the child, because they need to eat in order to not be hungry all day. And at this age, they are hungry all the time. But going to the bathroom as well, this might be their first time they go to the bathroom without you right there outside the door. So we have a lot of issues with little boys, especially playing in the bathroom, which I understand, I have one, but helping them to learn before they come to school. Show them the bathroom. If you make that visit to the school, show them where the bathroom is, let them go in without you in there. They'll be fine, but just to understand that that's not the playground. But, I mean, these things seem silly, but these are things that can really help them. Let's see. Responsibilities, we talked about that. And parents and teachers really should work together to help a child. I know here we do a great job of it. I hope that all schools do, but it's not drop your kid off at the door and I'll see you in May. The teacher and parents should work together. If the child's having an issue, if you're worried about something, talk to the teacher, set up a meeting, see if you can come observe your child in class, or if your child doesn't want to do that. But the teacher should work with you to find the best way to help your child. We want that, because we want to help your child just as much as you do. So that's a very important thing. This is just, this time obviously is just the most exciting time in your child's, I think so, in your child's academic life. I think there's lots of exciting times, but the beginning should be amazing, and to set them up for success is the most important thing. Obviously, you're all here, so you know that, but just really working on these basic, simple things to get them comfortable so that they are able to take that step into the building on the first few days by themselves and be proud of themselves. So that's
Okay. I am Vanessa Robinson, for those of you that are just coming in, and I'm the school counselor here at Randolph. I have been here for 18 years, so I have seen 18 kindergarten classes come through. This spring, I will see my 5th class graduate that I've watched from kindergarten all the way through, which is pretty amazing. And I have learned a lot by being here for this many years. And I want to share some of that with you all. What I've learned is kindergarten is a transitional period for the parents and the student, not just the new student, but parents also taking your baby somewhere and trusting somebody to have them all day long and to do right by them is a big deal, and it can be very hard for parents to experience that. So it is a big deal for everybody. The school's goal is to provide an experience where the parents and the students learn to love school. It should be a great first experience. It is going to set the tone for the student and the family for many years to come. And so you want that to be a very positive experience where the child is going to be able to find some success. It's really important to take some time, do some research, and especially trust your gut about your own child and whether or not you believe that they're ready for kindergarten. You may want to talk to some people that know them, like preschool teachers or family members. Talk to some professionals like your pediatrician and get some more information if you are wavering and you're not exactly sure what it is, what you should do. But definitely do some research and trust yourself too, for sure. When a student is ready, it really it ensures that they are going to be successful. And once you've made your decision that you're going to move forward and you're going to have a kindergartner, I really encourage you to go to the school and meet key people that are going to be important in helping them transition and make it as smooth and happy as possible. And these are administrators, these are specialist teachers, your art and your music, and because there's a lot of different people that come into play during the day, and that can be scary for students. They may think, okay, kindergarten teacher's okay, but now I have to go to art, and who is this strange person? So if you can familiarize them with the school and the different key players, it will really help them to transition well and help them to have a successful start to school. I'm going to focus on what school counselors can do and how they can support you and your child and the many changes that come with kindergarten and milestones throughout many years. And so, first of all, I want to emphasize that school counselors are children advocates. That is our main job, is to advocate for the child. And so sometimes parents are fearful of, oh, my child had to go to a counselor, and it can have a negative kind of feeling associated with it. And I really want you to know that school counselors don't do discipline. Yay, because I do not want that to be part of my job. And so I get to be the good guy, and school counselors everywhere get to be the good guy. They are there to help your child, to advocate for them. And so please remember that that is truly their role, and to utilize them for that, and to not be fearful if they come home and say, I saw the school counselor today. And truly in kindergarten, if one person goes, everybody wants to go. So we try to make it fun and introduce it as a good thing so that when the time comes that they may need it for something more serious, they're open to that. I really encourage you to introduce yourself to the counselors, one of those key people as well, and utilize them for any questions that come up or any issues that you might be facing, because they are there to help, and they want everyone to feel as if their experience is positive. Counselors are in and out of the classroom, and at Randolph, every kindergartner actually tours my office. So they are going to be familiar with me, just like they become familiar with the nurses and anybody else that they may need to see throughout the day. And it is really to help alleviate any kind of fears that they may have about, why do I have to go talk with this person, or what are we doing, or stranger danger and that sort of thing. A lot of times they're a little skittish, so we really want that to be an open relationship. And I think that if you all take initiative and start that too, that it's going to help that much more. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Part of what counselors do is they're going to provide direct services to the student and maybe the family. And that may mean, the parents come in and talk about something, or the child will go to the office to talk about something going on. They support the teacher in the classroom through observation and collaboration. Sometimes an extra pair of eyes is helpful for the teacher to come in and say, okay, what are you seeing? What do you think? And then we'll talk about some ideas of some things that might help with an issue that the teacher is concerned about. And we also can provide classroom guidance. In some schools that is a regularly scheduled thing, and in others it may be more on an as-needed basis. And so we really are going to be in and out of the classroom a lot, and your child will, I think, wherever they are, will become familiar with the counselor. Generally, what counselors see kindergartners for is separation anxiety, and that is especially true for the first 6 to 8 weeks. After that, it usually calms down and gets better. If it continues, then we will continue to work on it and help. But That is the biggest thing that we see with kindergartners. And occasionally, parents have a little separation anxiety too. I have been known to snap a picture of a student and text it to a parent after they've calmed down and are happy, so you can get on with your day and know that, okay, fine, they've quit crying and things are good now. And so we're happy to do that, or I'll call and say, it's all great, it took 10 minutes, things are fine, enjoy your day. We'll call if there's a problem. I do want to point out that anxiety is the most diagnosed, I don't want to say illness, it is being diagnosed more than attention in children today. Anxiety is on the rise, and that is true of our population. We've seen that from the past 3 to 5 years as well. So sometimes it can last a little longer and be a little greater, or come back at different times, and we'll work with you through that. But I do wanted to point that out. Rarely, but occasionally, kindergartners may have a behavioral issue or an academic issue that counselors become involved in. It is not very often, and that is because the range of what we consider to be normal development is really, really wide in kindergarten. And so most things fall within normal development. And as they get older, this becomes smaller, and then we may have some outliers. But in kindergarten, it really is hard. And so really there's a lot of observation that is done in kindergarten, and we watch for patterns. And sometimes this can go on for years, something that maybe just peaked out a little bit, but 3 or 4 years later, we're seeing that, and we can kind of watch this pattern grow. But rarely in kindergarten do we pick up on a lot of major academic concerns and behavioral concerns. It's not that common, but it happens occasionally. The counselor's main goal is just to become the friendly, familiar face to kindergartners and to their families, and to build positive relationships with all of you and all of the children that are involved. So I think that is all I've got. I will pass it on.
I'm Dr. Brian Lau. I'm a pediatrician in Huntsville, Alabama at Huntsville Pediatric Associates. I've been practicing for 18 years. My panelists have already said some wonderful ideas. In fact, I love the idea of family mealtime for helping development the family. I love telling parents to sit there with their children, the mommy and daddy, when I first start talking to them about feeding their little babies, and make sure the TV's off, the iPhone's off, and just start the communication. That is just a wonderful process. Mrs. Wells was talking about reading and pointing out signs, and as I was driving with my 15-year-old to drop him off here at Randolph, I actually let him drive with it snowing, and I was actually pointing out signs again, his excessive speed. What the pediatrician can help you with is we get a chance to watch kids grow up from birth till 21, and it's fun to see them grow.
Yes, she is asking what parents can do when you have an anxious child and to help them deal with day-to-day things that come up. Is that correct? Did I get that?
Just, how you can help them get perspective on issues, just
Okay. It can be a difficult thing to help a child who's going through anxiety to gain perspective and come to the realization that things maybe aren't exactly the way that they feel like they are, because that's their reality. And so it is a bit of a challenge. A lot of times talking with them about it, depending on their age and their maturity level, but letting them be able to voice it, talk about it, or write it down will help them kind of get it out. And if there are certain situations, a lot of times there's certain books written to help kids deal with if they are afraid of the dark, or, so there can be some things like that too that are specifically made to help with specific issues. Kids with anxiety need a lot of structure and routine. That is helpful for them to feel better, to know what to expect. We often will see a child that asks 20 times, who's picking me up today? Who's picking me up today? Where do I go after school? Even if they know and we're told, they need that reassurance. So if you have an anxious child, try to keep your routine and structure in place for them. That will really give them some security about things. I also would talk to your pediatrician about it if you're seeing something that's concerning you, and keep an eye on it. It may get to the point where they might need some other intervention, some counseling to help learn skills and to deal with things if it gets beyond what you can do at home and what you're feeling good about. If you're not seeing it alleviate and they're under a lot of stress, and it's painful to watch a child with anxiety. It's very hard to watch them suffer through that. And so if it gets to the point where you feel like you need some more help, don't be afraid to ask. If you're in a school, ask the counselor, ask your pediatrician. There's a lot of great online resources. There is a ton of research and literature out online right now about anxiety in children that is really great. I'm getting new information every day that I'm reading and trying to keep up with, because we're seeing it increase, that we're getting more information about it, which is helpful. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I agree with everything that you've said, and we do know that one of the best ways to manage anxiety in children and adults is what we call exposure and also kind of cognitive behavior therapy. That means talk to your child about it. Exposure doesn't necessarily have to be behavioral where you're taking them somewhere, but talking to them about it and giving them opportunities, not just to get it out, but also to get control over the emotion that's associated with talking about it. We know that that's really important, giving them ways to reframe something. So if they talk about something being scary, talk about it being exciting and having new opportunities, having them think about what the outcomes could be, and always ending the story with a kind of very probable but possible, but positive outcome. We have some really good research coming out, and it's been out for a while now, on what's called mindfulness and mindfulness meditation, and the role of meditation in treating anxiety disorders. And there's some great resources for families and children about teaching mindfulness and meditation at home. There's a great book that's called 10 Mindful Minutes. It's actually developed by the Goldie Hawn Foundation with some neuropsychiatrists that teaches your child simple techniques that they can take with them everywhere, one of the most important of which is breathing. People laugh when I tell them to breathe. It's really important. And breathing makes a huge difference in your experience of anxiety and whether the anxiety escalates emotionally and physiologically. So those are some other things.
I will see the anxiety manifest when the child comes in with recurrent headaches, recurrent abdominal pain. They'll come in with some complaints like that. And so the answer is really dependent on the age of what to do. So for the younger kids, one of the most important things I tell parents is manage the multimedia in the world. I mean, you're just one click away from every one of us looking at something, and it makes every one of us very anxious and worried about the world. And so the one thing I emphasize is just really be cognizant of that and turn off the multimedia. Another thing that I will tell that I'm a big believer in for anxiety of all ages is I think kids have to be physically active. I think your body has to be reset by vigorous physical cardiac activity. So if the kids are not doing that, I emphasize that too. All right, so the question came up of redshirting your kindergarten child. And so what that means is it usually comes up if you have a male child, late summer birthday like July. Should that child not start kindergarten yet? Should the child wait one whole year? And so a lot of the discussion that I'll have with the parents, I will look to, figure out what the paternal expectations are, with the mom and dad who I've gotten to know over the years. There are some parents, some usually fathers, who are absolutely convinced that their child is going to be the next professional athlete, and they are dead set that that child is going to be redshirted their kindergarten year. And as far as physical development, if a child is held back 1 year, of course that child's going to be bigger, stronger, faster when it comes into the times of sports, especially middle school sports. So my answer usually to the parents are, if it's a decision or not, whether to redshirt or not, is consider putting them into a church kindergarten program, giving the child a chance to continue to grow and develop, and then if the child needs to have a repeat kindergarten, then move them on to your kindergarten at the school that you're going to, okay? I think that's easier than having a child start at a kindergarten and then be amongst the peers, and even all the little kids, they know who was the kid that was held back, and then that might end up being the label the child has for a while. If the child does a outstanding job in the church kindergarten or another kindergarten, then the teachers there can tell the parent how much the child has matured, and then that child could go directly into a first grade program.
I'll speak to that as well, if that's okay. This is one of the most difficult questions, first of all, that I think we get, because you know your child the best, and I know that does not help your question, but we see this a lot, and sometimes the child coming in with that late June, July, August birthday, especially the boys, I'll be honest, but we kind of wonder, are they going to be okay this year? But sometimes they turn out just fine, and they mature, and they, meet all the goals that they need to meet to move on to first grade. Sometimes they don't, and we say, the best thing for this child is just more time. Give them another year to grow, another year to mature, and to also think in the future, thinking about college, thinking about them entering college at 17, or that's your personal thought and choice, but it's important to think about that as well. I've got 2 this year that are repeating, and it has been the best decision for those 2. And at this point in the year, they're fitting right in with the peers that they have now. They still have the friends that are in first grade, but I think at this age, they don't realize exactly what's going on. I mean, they might know, okay, Susie's doing kindergarten again, but so what? Susie's doing kindergarten again. It's fun, and at this age, it's better now than in 3rd grade or 4th grade. But it's definitely a hard choice. I think his suggestion of putting them in a church preschool or something else is, if you're really not sure, that's a great option. But I think if you're entering them into a kindergarten in the school where you intend for them to stay, if you have that open mind that, okay, I know it's a possibility that my child might need to repeat, then that's probably your best mindset that you can have, if you know you're open to that and you'd be okay with that if the teacher brings that up. We've even had cases where parents bring it up before the teacher does, and that sort of, we breathe a sigh of relief, like, okay, you said it first. But I think, too, to stress that it's not a bad thing if the teacher or you feel like, okay, my child needs to do kindergarten again. It's not a bad thing. It's not a negative. We want to help your child, and if they need more time, that's okay. So, yeah, I think you have basically 2 options of go ahead and put them in and see how they do with the chance of doing it again, or put them somewhere else and then see where they need to go. But
I think if there's an obvious reason that you're worried about, then waiting is okay too. I had one that I didn't start kindergarten until 6. He had a late June birthday, and it absolutely was the best thing. He had no interest in school. He's still not my student that loves school, and it was the best thing for him. If you have a student that is ready and you wait just because, you're worried about the age, or, you have different things, but everything else shows that he's ready, I suggest really going forward and getting them involved so that they are continued to be challenged and they will learn to love learning. They're not going to be bored. If they're ready, then provide them with the opportunity to move forward. But if you know for sure there's something, then don't hesitate to wait. And if you're unsure, then I think what both of these people have suggested is fine, as well as to go ahead and try something, but with an open mind that we may need to do this again, but I don't think age is the definite reason why to just say, I think you really have to look at each child.